Eight. We are live. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you're from and when you're watching this. Welcome to the Minecraft Ed After Chat. My name is Garrett Zimmer, aka PB Jelly Games, one of the co-founders of MinecraftEdu Ed Chat, and we are excited to have a fantastic After Chat today. We are going to be talking about game design in Minecraft classrooms with some really amazing powerhouses in here. We did just lose. If you're watching it on the YouTube channel, just go ahead and mute it. Well, not you guys out there in the audience. That's for us in here. But we did just lose. He was in here, and he will be joining us again. Mr. Steven Isaacs, who we all know and absolutely love. Fantastic, teaches game design in high school. And does a wonderful job of it. So then we also have Sebastian Gould, who is joining
Hello.
us, who is a student of Stephen Isaacs, and we have Mark Grundell, who is also a
Oh,
co-founder of Minecraft
and
Ed.
I believe Mr. Isaacs is back.
Mr. Isaacs is back. So basically, the after chat is all about, for those of you who may have missed the Twitter Ed chat, it happens every single Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, with the exception of next week where we're going to be taking a bit of a summer break. But we will be returning the following week. And what we do is we cover the highlights of the discussion that happened during that after chat. So we'll get into it right now. I want to go ahead and give you guys a chance to introduce yourselves. So we'll start with Steven, and then we'll go to Sebastian, and then Mark, you can go ahead and start us off with the first question after introducing yourself.
Hey, so great to be here. My name is Steve Isaacs. I teach game design and development at William Annan Middle School in Basking Ridge, New Jersey. As you mentioned, I'm very honored and proud to have one of my, sadly, I have to call former students, Sebastian, on tonight, but he has great insight to share. And, I love what I do. I'm very active in the game-based learning community. Happen to be, I'll throw a quick plug in, producing an event called Mind Fair that's coming in October through the Greater Philly Expo Center, which is going to be a pretty huge event. So hit me up if you want more information on that. But I'm excited to share what I do in class, with my students.
Excellent. Sebastian, go ahead and introduce yourself to us.
Hi, Sebastian Gould. As you heard from Mr. Isaacs, I was a student of his this past school year, and I'm fairly new to this, but I'm working to get more and more involved with Minecraft, especially in education community. I also plan to go to Mindfair, by the way, and I'm really happy to see not only my teacher on it, but to meet a YouTuber, a full-on Minecraft YouTuber, and Mr. Mark Grundle on a live stream. I'm really happy to be a part of this.
Well, we're really excited to have you, Sebastian. I mean, what an honor and a privilege for you guys to join us. Super exciting, Steve. I always love getting together and chatting with you. And Garrett, you've been a mentor for me in Minecraft, and Steve, you've really taken me under your wing. It's been a phenomenal experience, and to have all you guys here together in this chat, I'm in shell shock a little bit. It's pretty awesome. And Sebastian, if I'm correct, you were featured in a New York Times article back in April. Is that correct? The
I was.
Minecraft generation.
I was by Mr. Clive Thompson. Nice guy.
So yeah, you definitely gotta go ahead and if you're watching this, you gotta read that article. Just Google like New York Times Minecraft generation. Look it up. Phenomenal articles. Phenomenal work you're doing, Sebastian. Honor and a privilege to have you on tonight's chat representing the student voice. Thank you so much.
Oh, no problem. Really, like I said, I'm probably pleasure is all mine to be on this awesome live stream.
This is great. All right, so I'm gonna jump right in. I'm not one for transitions, so let's hop right into to question one. And question one was talking about the connections that we see between the roles of educator or student, really, as a game designer. So I'm gonna throw this out to you first, Steve, since this is your forte. What do you see as the role of educator and game designer, that dual role?
Well, so I mean, gosh, for me it's interesting because I teach game design. However, I've seen some amazing educators, take on that role full on. Like, I can't help but mention like Paul Darbasi and John Fallon, both amazing educators who have created their own games to completely run, units in their class like in a tremendous way. So if you're looking for examples, they are just awesome. Look them both up, Paul Darbasi, John Fallon, and so they exemplify what's possible. Uh, you know, Not to say that everybody has to go out on that level by any means, but I think when we're craftily planning lessons, I had said it in the chat, there's not much of a difference from that and creating a game per se. I think it's a slight shift of mindset. I think the potential for what we can bring in to the school and student experience is tremendous. We could take it as, start on a level. A lot of us in the game-based learning space have been talking about the notion of the teacher as the dungeon master, and that alone, kind of gives a picture of the educator's potential as someone who's leading or guiding, just guiding this game, if you will. So there's so many different possibilities. Breakout EDU is very popular now, and I've seen so
Perfect
many
example.
educators. Yeah, because look at how many educators are now designing their own breakout experiences. Not to mention the community behind that's offering theirs. Probably one of the most active educator Facebook communities right now is that Breakout EDU Facebook community, full of resources, full of sharing. So I think we have so many neat opportunities right now where people are starting to see how they can get involved. So I'll leave it at that for the moment.
Well, let me interject for a moment, because we have this beautiful opportunity in front of us, this growing movement towards teachers being the game designers, being the dungeon masters, being the facilitators of these creations. The question always has to come out, why? And so I think we here should address that question. What benefits have you seen? And Sebastian, I want to hear from your side as well, is what benefits does game environment within your classroom really provide for teachers out there who might be on the fence of, should I get on board with this movement or shouldn't I? So what are the benefits?
Well, first of all, if you're on the fence, tip over. Definitely do it.
Get off.
Definitely get off that fence very quickly.
We've lost your voice.
I think his microphone came unplugged.
So, Stephen, while we're getting Sebastian back, why don't you go ahead and give us your insights on where you think the benefits are?
So, I mean, without question, student engagement is huge, right? Student agency, providing an opportunity for students to be engaged on a level that's relevant to them. And I think Sebastian's back with audio, so let's let him. He was on a good roll.
Can you hear me? Testing?
Yes.
All right.
I hear you.
All right. So anyway, as I was about to say, in a game environment, there is so much. Obviously, there's so much more than you could do in the way of teaching all different kinds of subjects. Visualization is made a lot easier. You basically have this whole world you can manipulate to your whim. You don't have to. You can have, say, images of stuff floating around in space. It's a lot in 3D space. It's a lot easier to manipulate, and even game designing itself teaches a lot of very good skills. As someone who wants to become an engineer eventually, I'd say it has taught me a lot. The game design process through multiple platforms in Minecraft and Game Maker, even just coding a game from scratch, learning to solve problems in your code and learning to code in general. There's just so many. That's just scratching the surface. There's so much, so many skills that you can learn from coding games, from teaching, and being taught in a game environment.
Another thing I'll throw out there too is being able to be immersed in the learning, right? So,
Yes.
if I'm learning about refugees, I'm sorry, but I've spent a lot of time reading my daughter's social studies textbooks with her over the years, and I haven't found it to be the most engaging way to learn the history. In fact, to the point that quite often we're searching for keywords to answer questions that she has rather than being embedded in the experience. And take a game, let's say like Assassin's Creed or something. When you're
Yeah.
immersed in that environment and you feel what it's like. Now, I'm not saying a teacher is going to create Assassin's Creed, but a teacher could very well create a tabletop, non-digital version that provides those experiences that build empathy and let us. I want to walk in the shoes of the people I'm learning about.
And
I think. Oh, go ahead, Garrett.
no, you go ahead, Mark.
No, I think that song.
And we have Mark going out as well. So I'll jump on with my thought then. Go ahead, Mark, if you're back.
Oh, did I freeze up for a second?
Yes, you did.
We're not having good tech issues tonight. All right. So what I was saying to Steve, that you nailed it. You nailed it. I mean, that's why we got you on tonight. Is that one? You don't need to be this sophisticated digital game designer. You can design games on paper. Of course, we want to talk about designing games in Minecraft, but to create tabletop games.
Yeah, I don't know if you're familiar with like the work of John Hunter and his World Peace game. I mean, that's another one to check out. Talk about giving kids an experience. Michelle King, Learning Instigator online, not spelled exactly right, but she's another master in that area where she created a game experience. Probably, I say similar to John Hunter's. I'm sure it's dramatically different, but kind of same general idea. And I mean, again, the funny thing is, I have so much admiration for these people. I don't have enough time to create games myself as I would like, and so I marvel in the work of what a lot of these other people are doing for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And as a student, I can definitely advocate for that. It is definitely worth the time to do that, to design the game, because I can tell you, I would definitely love it if my history class was taught as a visual thing, like even in a game or on a desk in a visual representation. I would much, million times prefer it over a textbook or even a video. To be honest, I really like the videos, but the 3D visualization of a game or a real life model would be such far superior.
I'm hearing two themes here. One is engagement, and the other is expanded learning skills, expanded learning opportunities. And I think for me, the engagement, the immersion factor really does hold itself to be the biggest thing. We're sitting in a climate where we have the highest high school dropout rates in a long time. We have students who are checking out. We have schools who are, or parents who are checking students out of schools because the actual learning is not there. In a game, everyone comes into a game knowing that it's going to be fun, or assuming that it's going to be fun, and getting in there. So if we can create that type of experience for our students, we capture them, we hold them, and beyond that, to what you're saying, Sebastian, in a history class, is that immersion, and Stephen, you said the same thing, that immersion really gives us the opportunity to critically think about everything that was going on in that time frame. Whereas looking at a textbook, we're paying more attention to the vocabulary, we're paying more attention to the words as opposed to the emotion, the feelings, which actually drive long-term learning. So, fantastic points.
And this is a big nod to your work, Garrett. I mean, for real, like I don't know how much you talk about the work that you're doing in this space, but when it comes to the potential for full immersion in the learning, I mean, that's your specialty.
Yeah.
It's what we try to do. It's the founding principle of MindGauge EDU. It's to create games that students will be able to immerse themselves in and make sure that the fun is there so that the learning happens naturally, it happens organically, and it happens in a very memorable, emotionally connected way.
Basically, what we're doing is we're finally achieving what many external learning companies have been trying to do before. We're making By doing this, we are all making learning more fun and more engaging. We are Students like me are learning more and having fun doing it.
Yeah. And I go back to my earliest crowdfunding campaign that I tried to get some funding for MindGauge for, and our tagline was "Learning can and should be fun," and it really is true. And when you're having fun, you're learning much more. So yeah, great. So that gives us, we'll tie off on that conversation because it's really all about why is games so essential in the classroom? Why does it become? Now let's talk a little bit about, we talked a bit about the role of an educator and game designer. I think we're missing one point, Stephen, that you and I had some conversations on yesterday, and I want to tie that point off is every game designer or every teacher makes a good game designer, I think. There are keys to game design where you're talking about, how they connect very, very closely to educational lesson design. So tell me a little bit about that from your perspective, Steve, just so we can broaden this question out and then move into the next.
I mean, the most important thing I think there that needs to be understood or at least thought about, I had used the term before, like a paradigm shift. Educators are giving great thought into lesson design to make sure they deliver the content in a way that's meaningful to students, right? That's the goal.
Yes.
And then having activities that relate to it in, again, hopefully a relevant, meaningful way. The thoughtful planning that goes into that, and it's funny, I shouldn't say never. I believe most teachers iterate on their plans from time to time. Iterative design, as we talk about all the time with game design, is so imperative. Educators that care about what they're doing are continually reflecting on their lessons and iterating and improving upon. They're going through the model of design process, design thinking, iteration. It's not going to be a big leap to go from that to creating a game. I think they're very capable. I think they have the skill set embedded in what they're doing.
Yeah.
And here's where Minecraft comes in. I'll let you take this point next, Sebastian, for sure. But this is precisely where Minecraft comes in. It's Mark, welcome back. We're gonna get back to you in a moment. So where Minecraft comes in, and I'm just gonna give a tiny little share of the screen here from a slide deck that I produced for a convention recently here in Ontario, and these are the traditional barriers to game design. You need to have a high level of programming background. You need to have a lot of experience. You need to be able to create 3D graphics, 3D models, 3D designs. And when we take a look at something like that, that makes the learning curve for a teacher to get involved very, very difficult. But then if you go to the basics of lesson design versus game design, you're looking at them as being exactly the same. With Minecraft, though, the best part about it, and I'm going to stop this screen share here, the best part about it is you do not need to be an expert in 3D design, graphic design, any of that, nor in designing connected narratives. And I use the example of some of the adventure maps that have been played millions and millions of times by millions of people in Minecraft. And the way you create a character in those maps is literally by placing 2 blocks on top of each other, little levers for arms, and a sign for the face. And then all of the dialogue becomes this string of signs or what have you. So really makes it easy for teachers to kind of jump on board. And that's where Minecraft really comes into play as probably being one of the most essential tools or amazing tools for teachers to be able to jump on with their lesson design and turn that into true game design.
And remember, if I could just throw in too, that still sounds intimidating to a lot of teachers, but come up with an idea, bring your kids into that process. I mean, I can't think of a game that if I have an idea that I can't go to a group of students and say, hey, help me out with this, where they'll probably take it over and make it happen. So that's important to realize that the power of that co-creation and empowering students and embracing their expertise, comes into play so beautifully there.
Awesome point.
Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, I think that's what it's all about, right? Is letting go and sharing that responsibility, and that co-ownership. I love it. I love it.
So Q6 then was a really good question, Sebastian. If you had a point to make on that, please, by all means.
What was Q6? One sec. Let me pull that back up.
Well,
Actually,
Q6 was actually about exactly what you're talking about, Stephen, and Mark, you iterated on that, is how can we involve students in the game design process, and what benefits do we see? And I think it's a perfect question to really pick our brains on here, is how do we get students involved? Where are the benefits from that? Sebastian, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, like I said before, I don't think I've ever met someone my age at least who doesn't love to play some form of video game, whether it's Madden or Halo or Minecraft or all of the above. Everyone loves a video or Xbox or a computer or Xbox game, and if you finding a way to incorporate that is in video games is really the way to go. Having lessons that you can play, say say you're studying the Napoleonic Wars or something, instead of reading about it in a textbook, allowing your entire class to jump in the middle of a freeze frame, a 3D freeze frame, at that of the middle of the Napoleonic Wars, would be a not only totally more effective way to teach, but I guarantee you, every pair of eyes in that classroom would be attentively at the subject at hand and not at their phone or whatever it is that's outside the window.
Awesomely said.
Yeah.
I'm just tweeting that right
now. And I forget who said it during the chat. It may have been you, actually, Garrett. But playing other people's games is like the textbook, and then creating your own games. Was that you who said that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you want to reiterate that point, but that playing other people's games becomes the manual. It's the how-to, and then involving yourself in the creative process is that.
Think of
I'm sorry.
No, I just I'm going on what you're saying, but thinking about what that idea of that question and the benefits. What better way to demonstrate understanding, obviously, than kids being part of that process of creating the game? I've seen some amazing work done by students who, the research and things that have to go into planning a game in the first place is pretty impressive. And then what also happens in game design with kids is that, like, my feeling is, I can only teach you the basics, and then everybody's game is going to come out different. So you're going to have to learn things that you're going to want to put into your game. So the amount of learning how to learn that takes place is powerful. Like Sebastian will tell you, I think, that, the game he ended up creating in Game Maker had elements to it that are beyond what I ever taught the class as a whole, because my goal is, once you have the idea of the structure, then you're going to learn what you need to. And that's powerful.
So many different kinds of houses that can be built on a pretty much identical foundation.
Right.
Excellent point. Now, talking about benefits, just to sort of iterate on that idea as well, is, what are the things that you primarily see? And I'll say what I see from, students getting involved in the game design process. And as educators, we're always looking for these curriculum connections. And when you think about it, to create even your most basic game, whether it be a role-playing game, again, perfect example that Stephen brought out, you've got to do the research. You've got to understand the information because you want your game to come across authentically. Second to that, you have to do a lot of writing. I can tell you this is designing a game. There's a lot of writing involved. In fact, I think me and my team have probably, 100 pages of writing in some of our documents. And not only in that, you've got logical thinking. You need to make sure that all the pieces are connected together. So there's all these different curriculum connections, including mathematics and engineering, that come into play. In my opinion, any thoughts on those curriculum connections and why using Minecraft as a game design tool and working with your students in this really provide cross-curricular benefits to their growth, aside from just the research side?
I am going to elaborate, especially on the writing bit of things. That game that Mr. Isaacs mentioned that I made, it started out as a very good game, and the version of it that I submitted for a grade, that, in my opinion, was a pretty good version of it. But after that, I think I didn't really have a plan down for where I wanted to go with it. I didn't really have writing for it. I didn't write that far yet, as you were saying, and I think it kind of fell apart from there. It had it had everything from like a wild westerny kind of feel to a tropical island, and it just kind of the rope frayed too much, and it just fell apart.
So, a question to you then is, does that encourage you now to write more?
Yes, I've always liked writing, but now I know that whenever I really gonna make a game, that it's like whenever I'm really trying to make something, you always got to write down a plan for it. Maybe I always love a good story in a game, so always good to write down that.
Awesome.
And I know with my experience just working with Black Rocket, we give our students like planning sheet templates that they can use in order to hash out their game. And you want to talk about 21st century skills, not only the planning and the writing part, but the research. Not only are you planning it out, but now you're researching and you're doing your nonfiction reading, even if it is for a fictional narrative. So I think game design is teaching so many skills, and I think the benefit that I get from as a teacher is just back to what we've been saying all night, is just understanding the needs of our students. And when we're designing games for our students, we take their needs into consideration. And I think the same thing is true when we're facilitating our students designing their games. We, as educators, we can't know everything. But if a student wants something, we can kind of work through, whatever it is, the Game Maker manual or the Scratch manual, and troubleshoot. And they see that we're not the expert, but students see that we're trying to help them. We're right there with them, learning along with them. And that's some of my favorite parts, is when a kid wants to do something that I don't know how to do, whether it's in Scratch or Game Maker, and I'm right there in the weeds with them trying to figure it out, and we might be sitting there for 15, 20 minutes. I might be on the internet researching it, but I realize the whole time I'm modeling these skills to my students, and they're seeing, wow, he's not the expert, but we try it, we test something, maybe it doesn't work. You change one line of the programming, you change one bit there, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, and you just keep going through that iterative process and that troubleshooting process. And I think that's a powerful model for students. And it's great for us as educators as well.
Yeah, for me it keeps it exciting, right? Like, I know that I've sat down right with Sebastian. I could almost have a little deja vu right now, where he would present a problem with his game, and I'd be like, well, let's think about it, and I definitely didn't come there with the answer. In fact, as many times as I might have been able to help, he might have beaten me to it, and that's great.
Yeah.
I think I have a memory of that. I was about to mention we were trying to port my game to the Oya, I think, and we spent multiple days trying to figure that one out. I don't know if it ever came to fruition, but you know you're doing something right when both parties can learn something new from the situation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We have a viewer question that popped up from Lynn Telfer. that I wanted to address. So I love the idea of students making the game. Could you see the students using Minecraft as an evolving, organized game design as they build their ideas and add features? And I think it really lends itself well to the discussion that we're having, and something that I feel I need to bring up. Steven's going to love this. Game design is about iteration nation. It's about iterating. It's about evolving ideas and growing those ideas, much the same degree as lesson design and lesson planning is. You test something out, and your objective ultimately is to engage the students and make sure that they learn. Game design being the same way. So what are your thoughts on this particular question?
Well, I mean, for one, so many things. Absolutely. I often say to the kids, I love when I love when a kid tells me I'm done with my game. You're not done with your game. you know, so and that doesn't, and then what's good is a lot of times I'll sit down with them, I'll play through it. I'll always have a few suggestions. I want them to be able to submit something at some point that could be published and be somewhat complete, but the potential to evolve on that is tremendous. The other thing is Minecraft, and I mentioned this in the chat, and I mention it often, is as a tool itself, it's so awesome. It was not built in nowhere do you go and have somebody try to sell you or market Minecraft as a game design tool per se.
Except me.
Right. Okay. And me. But as it's the first tool, I use a lot of different tools that I love. It's the first one that truly allows for collaboration to the point that you could have 10 people, 20 people working on the same game, and the roles evolve naturally and organically. You don't lose people to oh, they're doing the work, so I'm going to sit over here and not do it. Game Maker, which I love, I even have a limit in my class that at most 3 people can work on a team together in Game Maker, and if that's the case, one of them is essentially exclusively working on graphics, because when it comes to putting the game together, you're in front of one computer. Minecraft, everybody's in there through the whole thing, and when you were talking about it evolving, I mean, you start with an idea and that just grows. However, it is important to set reasonable expectations for yourself as a student. I have seen people get overly ambitious. Time is a factor. Middle school students myself included. I think I'm stunted somewhere in middle school in terms of my level of maturity in so many ways. Anyway, but time management is not their forte. So there are so many factors that have to go into managing and helping them manage their own project. But to answer that question, absolutely. I mean, the growth and evolution of a game in Minecraft or any tool is very exciting to be part of and to watch.
And it brings in so many other skills, the problem solving. I was working with a student today in Game Maker, and his sprite was too big to fit through a little passageway. And this kid's only about 8 years old.
Wow, that's cool.
And I knew how to solve the problem. I could scale down the sprite, but I didn't want to tell him that. So we talked about it. How could we solve this? And he actually decided on erasing some of the blocks and placing them up higher. But just going through that problem solving, and then he gave me the game to test play, and I think that's so important too. Just watching a game evolve in that way and working through those kinks. And Minecraft is no different. You're in there playing with each other. Maybe you're building a parkour course. You can't make a jump. How are we going to solve this? We're going to replace the blocks. We're going to put a power up with a command block. How are we going to solve through this? And you have that communication. And what's great about Minecraft, like you said, Steve, is that you can do it in game. Okay, sorry about that.
Yeah.
Garrett, are you
Awesome.
there?
Yep, I'm
Okay.
still here.
All right. So I'm not sure where we are in the question cards. I kind of got booted out for a little bit. Did we make it through all our questions?
We have literally been jumping around, to be
Awesome.
perfectly honest. I think this conversation, a lot of it is about helping educators kind of bridge that gap between game design in their classroom and not necessarily having to be, a true game design professional in order to make good use of it. So we kind of did jump around.
Helping
One
educators
question.
bridge that gap between game design in their classroom and none.
There we go. That's what I just said.
Yeah.
Deja vu.
Yeah, I was pulling up the live stream and I couldn't mute it quickly enough.
Quick enough, yeah.
Not a problem.
Been there.
So here's a question. We kind of covered what is it about Minecraft that really lends itself well to game design. We talked about that a little bit. Some of the other questions were very Twitter specific, so ideas for games that we have that we'd like to create. I think that's a good one to kind of cover because there's a couple of different ideas that floated around, including a number of people, and yourself, Stephen, had brought this up as well. Mark and I have had this conversation with many other people before, and this idea has constantly come out, is to create breakout EDUs in Minecraft. And again, it's such a vibrant buzz around nowadays, this breakout EDU. Where do you see Minecraft fitting itself into this? And where do you see teachers being able to really engage and empower their students to start creating these sort of breakout strategy style games?
I mean, it lends so well to it. Like you've got, it's funny, when I first started thinking about bringing Minecraft in, my idea was that I would have kids create adventure maps. I quickly let go of trying to have everybody create an adventure map because I realized that sky was the limit with Minecraft. But when you think back to the adventure map idea, it's very similar, right? I mean, how great to have, and it doesn't have to be one room only. It could be a series of puzzles in different rooms. It could be, you kind of just take that theme and run with it and give kids the autonomy to have their take on it, but or teachers. But I mean, just the idea of what you can, that whole everything about an escape room or breakout EDU, I think fits right into what would be a very reasonable approach to designing games in Minecraft.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think one of the things that I talk about a lot when I'm talking with teachers and the important elements of games in a classroom, and there's a couple of things. You can create a basic broad map and tell students to run around and go and look around, and you've got the immersion factor and it feels good. Without a storyline and without challenge or competition of some sort, you're missing true game elements and core game elements. And the breakout EDU style, similar to the adventure map, gives you such opportunity to do that. And in that challenge, in creating that challenge to, okay, solve this puzzle, do this, that is right directly in line with where critical thinking, collaboration, and communication become the key elements of success.
Right. And when you're talking about bridging the gap and talking about content, so you no longer necessarily have to bring all the content into the game. You can have information in the game, send the kids back out to do the research, to come back with the answer they need, and then do something back in the game that helps them. So I always love that when you're like, and of course the game is going to be the part the kids want to rush back to. So solving the problem outside on the internet or wherever, and then coming back to test it in the game is what they're going to be excited about. Yeah, I see such a natural fit. I can't wait to start working on something like that.
I'm going to give a big shout out to Microsoft right now and Minecraft Education Edition, because one of the most recent additions that they embedded in there when they launched post beta was the non-player characters. And while these aren't the type of non-player characters that I'm used to working with, where I can interact them and link them and quest to create these huge dynamic quest chains, they do allow you the opportunity. I encourage all of you who are using Minecraft Education Edition to make use of this. They allow you the opportunity to create a story, create a narrative, create a character that becomes the prompt, but also add a resource link.
Yeah, embed links.
Yep.
And those links are phenomenally powerful because, like you said, Steve, you can send a student back out of the game to solve the problem, and that allows it to bridge from this, simple in game, and all I'm doing is playing a game, and it bridges those functions of learning.
Yeah.
So, okay, in order to succeed in this game, I've got to learn, and that's the true ideal situation.
Yeah.
Or, oh gosh, Steve, you're just giving me so many ideas. And Garrett talking about the new education edition, using the portfolio tool and have maybe hidden messages within pictures taken within the portfolio, or letters that maybe there's a random letter here or there. Within the caption of the portfolio, that you have to find the letter, and then you go outside of the game to decode it. I love that idea. Oh, that would be so fun. That sounds great. So I actually have a question. I have a related question, a tangent question that I'd like to ask. And this is something that we discussed prior to the chat, but is game design appropriate for everybody? Teachers, students? Is everyone a designer? Is everybody a creator? Or they're just, some people are just the consumers of the games?
That's a great question. I mean, that brings it back to the, no silver bullet thing, right? Like, no, the answer to your question is, and not only that, not everybody's interested. So, we'd be doing a disservice to force that on people. But, I'm a big proponent of student choice. So if you're giving a choice or opening a possibility to an educator to do something innovative and they are interested in it, then let's guide them to the resources and support that. But you've got a very good point there, and I think it's a really great thing to, Sebastian, I think you're getting at something there.
I was about to say, not everyone is a star athlete. Not everyone can make a 3-point shot consistently. Just in the same way that not everyone is a huge gamer, and though a lot of people like games, not everyone can make a game, and that's fine. Not everyone can't be everything at the same time. That's just not the way mankind works.
No, but what is interesting is that if you look at the game design, what it takes to design a game, there are so many different roles in that, right? So, I mean, in my class, I don't say everybody has to be able to code the game. If somebody finds out early in the process that they actually enjoy creating, graphics for a game, they can spend really the rest of the course, in a sense, being that person on a team. If somebody's, a great story writer, there are people who do not want to get bogged down by the writing part, and if they had somebody on their team that would take that on for them, so so not everybody has to be a game designer, but there is a role for anybody who wants to be involved, without having to put all the puzzle pieces together themselves.
Yeah.
And using that term puzzle pieces is perfect because it also bridges, it's not just the writers, it's not just the storytellers, it's not just the graphic designers, it's not just the artists. A lot of what we do in game design is solving puzzles. It's the logic behind it. It's making sure that this piece is connected in an appropriate way to this piece. So there's a lot of logical thinking students out there. So again, iterating that point, it really is something there for everyone. Now, I do want to play devil's advocate for a second, just to illustrate a particular point, that while not everybody will want to be a game designer, I do encourage everybody to start looking at the game design process, and every teacher out there, I encourage every teacher I talk to, look at the game design process, look at and understand what really makes a game vibrant for players, for students, because the true objective in any educational environment is to convince students and encourage students and get students passionate about learning, about the learning process.
I was trying to think before.
Will do that.
There's Richard Culata, who I just think is incredible, and I've seen him speak a few times where he's made this quote that I just love to tweet out and share. He said, "Learning is fun. Why do we insist on making it boring?"
Yes.
And he's a big proponent of games in education. So, learning is fun.
Even if you're not looking at it, again, educators out there and with your students, don't look at it as if, okay, you're trying to turn students into, or you're trying to turn yourself into the next Ubisoft or, massive game developer. That's not the objective. That is not the point. The point is to make classes more engaging, and this is why we have this trend of gamification, game-based learning, and elements of play in the classroom, because that is what it takes to keep students engaged. And the point that you made, Sebastian, earlier, it was a brilliant point, and I'm going to go back to it, is this is really what our students need. You're leveraging a more effective way to keep students' attention.
Yeah.
And that's a direct quote from Sebastian Gould. Fantastic quote. It's going in my quote book. All right. Great question, Mark. Absolutely fantastic question. I'm thinking we are running on about 50 minutes here. I think this is probably one of my favorite MinecraftEd after chats, and I'm very sorry to say that we do need to get on with the rest of our lives and get on with planning the rest of our summers and everything like that. And for those of us who are doing game design, get into that as well. But I do want to thank all of the audience who are paying attention. Anyone out there who's been viewing it, please feel free to use the YouTube comment section as an opportunity to get in touch with us. It will go directly to me, and I will be able to see that pop up. So don't hesitate to share your thoughts and share your information. If you do want to get in touch with anybody, you can get in touch with us via our Twitters. We've got Mark at mgrundell. We have Sebastian at Cordynaut9. We have Steve Isaacs at Mr_Isaacs, and we have myself at PB Jelly Games. You can also follow us on Twitter every single Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, with the exception of next week where we're taking a short summer vacation.
Summer vacation.
Yeah. And you can do so
Well
using the
deserved.
hashtag MinecraftEdu. Other than that, I want to take final thoughts from Mark, Sebastian, and Steven.
Please participate in the hashtag. We monitor that hashtag all week. It's not just us. It's the entire community. Please join us. Any questions or comments, reach out through Twitter. You'll get something back within 24 hours. And it's just been a phenomenal chat. I could talk with you guys, I think, for hours. It doesn't feel like 10 o'clock here. I could talk for another hour. I mean, great chat, guys. I'm so excited to get into the classroom tomorrow. I am working this summer and work with kids and just continue building and designing. And the idea is that there is something for everybody within game design, including the teacher, is so important. And just that idea of teacher as designer. I think the whole point of being a designer is understanding the needs of your audience. So getting to know your students, understanding what they need, and then building, whether it's a lesson or a game, around their needs. That's my final thought. Steve, you wanna take it away?
Sure. I love talking with you guys as well, and I'm beyond thrilled that Sebastian was able to join us tonight. It was an absolute pleasure having him as a student. Sebastian's one of those kids that it was great because even the full semester after he finished in my class, I was able to see him in the computer lab in the morning and during lunches and things. So, nice to have that opportunity and to, what he has to share and had to share this evening was perhaps more valuable, than anything we might share because he's, in there experiencing it, giving us what it's like as a student, and that's incredibly valuable. So,
favorite teacher.
Stephen, before you say goodbye, I want you to get an opportunity to also give a quick shout out to both MindFair and Games for Ed Chat and the EdTech Bridge Chats. Please let everybody know about that.
Yeah, so I'm a busy guy. So MindFair, I'm so excited. I'm on the production team of this huge scale Minecraft fan experience that's happening at the Greater Philly Expo Center October 15th and 16th. Keep trying to get Garrett to join us. We do have Mark coming. We have Sebastian coming, a whole great bunch of folks. and I'm sure whether it's maybe it won't be this one, but Garrett will make it to our next one. We're planning on growing the show to 5 to 7 in 2017, and it's just been a whole lot of fun planning it, and it's going to be one big Minecraft party, really. And then there's Games for Ed is a chat I'm very involved with on Thursday nights at 8 p.m. And EdTech Bridge is a community that I founded with Katya Hott from BrainPop at the time she was at Eline Media, based on our working relationship and the need to find an opportunity to bring EdTech stakeholders together to create relationships to help build better EdTech products. So that's a chat on Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. We also have a Slack group if anybody's interested, as well as a Facebook page. So jump in and join me all along this journey that I'm on.
And Games for Ed?
Well, I mentioned that briefly too. So Games for Ed is Thursday nights at 8 p.m.
Okay,
and
perfect.
that's and Melissa Pilikowski is doing an amazing job, essentially running the chat, and I'm try to support it the best that I can. But she's I give her a ton of credit for keeping that going beautifully.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much again, Stephen. Sebastian, final thoughts from you, my friend.
All right, and I'm gonna reiterate this. This has probably been my main point throughout the evening is teachers out there who are on the fence. Really, you should try this. All jokes aside, as a student, I can tell you 99.9% of your students will be totally more engaged. They're gonna love it. Any kind of implementation of games in the classroom. It's gonna increase your attention rates. It's gonna increase how much fun they're having, and it's just gonna make them learn. And I also want to say, as a bit of a separate point, all these guys have been mentioning all these different chats and groups and events and stuff. Anybody out there who feels like I'm not a big name, really any idea, there are no bad ideas. If you have a good idea, any idea really, about how to implement games better in the classroom, any participation is always appreciated. Always, always, always never feel shy to share, participate in these chats. We always love having new people, right?
Yep. Definitely students.
All right.
Definitely students.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Especially students.
Yes.
And teachers and anything.
And
All right.
I love it.
There's that.
I was going to say to that last, get off the, to that
Take
last
a risk, right? Show that you're vulnerable. Don't be afraid.
Yeah.
Yeah. And to that last point that Sebastian made about, kind of being involved in these chats, we have a vibrant community in the MinecraftEdu chat, absolutely vibrant community in the Games for Ed chat and these other chats. But as well, if you don't feel like it's something that you want to necessarily participate in right away, if it's something, for whatever reason you don't have time or whatnot, that's fine. You can always reach out to any of us who participate in these chats. Talk to us about your ideas. Talk to us about your challenges in Minecraft. We have a body of true Minecraft experts here, from students to teachers to those with just tremendous insight. So feel free to reach out to us. Again, thank you guys all very much for if you've stuck around for the entire hour. It wasn't intended to be an hour, but this was a fantastic conversation. If you stuck around for the entire hour, kudos to you guys, and I hope you guys learned something, and I hope that you enjoyed the conversation and can input on it via the YouTube channel in the chat, or at least in the comment section. For now, we're going to end it there. Gentlemen, thanks once again.
Thank you.
Massive
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Sebastian as well for joining us as our student voice. We will catch you guys a little bit later.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
All right.